Good morning. I'm Ben Sheets. My name actually is Marlon Sheets, but I go by Ben. And first of all, I want to thank Jackie for inviting us to do this. I think we've got an interesting story that may be helpful to others who might be interested in moving to Panama. Joan and I lived the last 18 years or so before retirement in North Carolina. She had a typesetting business and I was involved in physics and engineering. And sometime around 1986, we kind of saw the end of her typesetting business coming around with desktop and all that. And so we made a decision to retire early. We were both 59 at the time. And we were pretty well convinced that we didn't want to retire and live in the United States. We wanted to go elsewhere, particularly somewhere warmer. And so Joan and I bought a trawler and fixed it up to make it an ocean-going vessel and started our cruising life. First year we went to the Bahamas and mostly on the East Coast, and that gave us the confidence to have a little more aggressive kind of cruising life. So the next year we went to Guatemala, Cuba, Mexico, and Guatemala. And the following year then we knew no bounds. We went all over the Caribbean, circumnavigated the Caribbean, spent a lot of time in Guatemala and Venezuela and Honduras and Colombia, and of course all the island chains. And we did that for almost 10 years. And all the while we were doing that, we were looking for, where we were going to spend our retired life after cruising. We finally decided that Panama had very few negatives, a lot of positives, and it was our choice. And we've never regretted that decision. So we moved here after our cruising life. We moved here in late 2006, early 7. Had designed our home and started construction on it. And the construction lasted almost 2 years. And at the same time we were building the observatory. Much of the work that we did, Joan and I did, we did all of the excavation and landscaping. We had a little Kubota backhoe and front end loader, and we did all of the landscaping and much of the construction and nearly all of the welding on the house. There's no structural wood in the house. It's all steel and concrete. As is the case for most of the building in Panama. But anyway, it took 2 years to build the house, and I should say that the first year that we were here, it just seemed like the bureaucracy was never ending. But after a year, it all came to an end, and we've had very little intercourse with the bureaucracy since. It's been just delightful. And I'm not being critical of the bureaucracy, I'm just saying there is a lot to deal with. So anybody moving here with the idea of building or having a business or anything like that needs to be prepared for some fairly formidable challenge. That being said, after that first year, it has just been clear sailing, and we absolutely love it here. the observatory is my love. I wasn't into astronomy before we moved here, but I had a hankering to do some work in astronomy. Problem with astronomy is it's not fertile ground for a creative spirit. All that's being done by Hubble and a lot of high-powered science elsewhere. So there was one area that interested me, and I decided to pursue it, and that was optical SETI, or optical search for extraterrestrials. And that involves looking for laser pulses from other worlds. We'll get into a little bit more of that later, but it's a very challenging, and I've spent tens of thousands of hours developing the system and observing and doing all those associated things. Keeps me very busy and very challenged, and keeps my mind, keeps all 9 brain cells still functioning. We cruised to Panama several times, and each time we came here, we would explore a different region. Our first port of call was Cologne at the Panama Canal, where we checked in, and then we went on down to Portobello, which is to the south. And Portobello is a very historic little town where all the Spanish galleons used to load the Incan gold to take back to Spain. Spent a good bit of time in Portobello, and then went to the San Blas Islands and cruised there for a couple of months at least, and totally enjoyed that. Finally, we came back up to Bocas del Toro and checked into a marina there. And from there, we did a lot of inland travel, and everybody there talked about Boquete as being a wonderful place to visit. We rented a car and spent a month just driving around Panama, visiting all of the places that we thought might be possible places to land. And we got to Boquete, and it just clicked. Everything here was just like we wanted. At that time, you could drive down the streets of Boquete, and there would be dogs sleeping in the street, and very little traffic, almost none. A nice, sleepy little town, just like we were looking for. Yeah, a question came up about the cost of living here and how that has escalated over the years. I can best characterize that by what a cost of an ice cream cone was when we moved here. A double dip cone was 25 cents in 2007, and it's gone all the way up to 70 cents now. And that's kind of typifies what you see here. Cost of construction is probably doubled, maybe a little bit more than that. When we moved here, the cost of living for an expat would be typically around $1,000. So that's gone up some, but not alarmingly, and we lived quite comfortably just on our Social Security check. Talking about crime and safety and so forth, there are occasional, once every few years, spurts of crime in the area, but the Panamanian government and the local authorities are pretty responsive, and those crime episodes are fairly short-lived generally. Oh, there's always a little something going on, but it's quite comfortable actually. As far as police presence are concerned, yes, we have police checkpoints, and there's a number of them around the country where your vehicle is required to stop and, you know, show identification and so forth. That's only a minor inconvenience. Otherwise, police presence in the area is minimal, almost unnoticed, and we have a good sense of freedom. Okay, on the observatory, my life has been one of technical work and development and invention, and that's been my life. It's been a technical life, and it suits me well here because I can shut the door and be in total silence and by myself for hours and hours and hours without interruption, and that works great. But the observatory was something I wanted to do, and it's been a tremendous challenge because much of the work towards being able to detect laser signals has only been done in infancy, and I had a great deal of work to not only educate myself on the subject, but also to develop the instruments and so forth to do that work. So maybe it's a good time now to take a break, go out to the observatory and have a look at that. Okay, here we are in the little Boquete Optical City Observatory. It's one of two observatories in Panama, this one being the larger of the two. and it is the only full-time functioning optical SETI observatory on the planet. There are others doing work, but they're intermittent. For instance, universities in the United States are doing some work and elsewhere. But those are intermittent activities, a lot of requiring various funding exercises and so forth. I won't deal with that. But here is the control room. It takes every bit of the computer hardware and software here to do this work. This one controls the detector head. This one is the planetarium software, and this one does the detection, signal detection and analysis, and that one does the critical timing. I might add that the pulse timing, the detected pulse timing is accurate to half a microsecond, so it's pretty good. Took a while to develop that. Took a while to develop all of this stuff. That's software that I wrote back in 1981 or 82, and it was easily adapted to this, so I did that. And the detection software was done here also over the course of a year. I work in collaboration with Bruce Howard, who is currently in New Mexico and building an observatory there, and he will be doing optical SETI in the near future when his observatory is built. He's been doing optical SETI with an observatory in Michigan, but he's moved on from that. So, how would I advise others that might be interested in moving to Panama? What would be the best way of going about doing that in a way that minimizes your exposure to loss of personal treasure and so forth? Well, I would say the best idea would be to come here, rent a car, spend a month driving around Panama, see all the sights, get to know a little bit about the people and the locations, and then pick a site that you like. There are a number of places in Panama that have really excellent climates, and that's one of the primary reasons that we moved here. But if you were to choose Boquete, then I would suggest spending weeks running around this area. And when you get serious, I would suggest renting a home and or an apartment, and really getting to know the area. There's a couple of issues that you have to deal with here. We were lucky. We just plain lucky in the choice of our location. There are areas, there are many microclimates in the Boquete area. Some of them not so pleasant, with extremely heavy winds. Others, you have a misty rain that goes on for a good part of the year. And so choosing a location for us was protection from the wind and not so much in the haze and fog, or foggy rain, I should say. And as I say, we got lucky, but when moving here and you want to buy a lot or buy a home or whatever, the investment is a long-term thing, and you want to be really sure what you're doing and where you're going to live, and that you'll be happy there for a good many years. It's not difficult to do, but it does require doing your homework.